concentrate on the oxidative phosphorylation. I think I have already discussed about this oxidative phosphorylation. In oxidative phosphorylation, we were discussing about the chemiosmotic hypothesis. I think you remember in the previous class. That's exactly the same mechanism is going to be applied over here in the respiration in plants also. So for the oxidative phosphorylation, chemiosmotic hypothesis, which is just like same as in the previous class. Okay, now we come to a conclusion of how many ATPs are produced from the glycolysis, Krebs cycle and oxidative phosphorylation. Okay, so if you take this, all these three cycles will be comes under the aerobic respiration. So total ATP yield during aerobic cellular respiration. First we'll take the glycolysis cycle. So in glycolysis cycle, 2 ATP will be produced and 2 NADH will be produced. I am talking about one single cell. Okay, next oxidative phosphorylation. In chemiosmotic hypothesis, there is no direct ATP synthesis, rather it is production of 2 NADH. Okay, now coming to the Krebs cycle. In this Krebs cycle, 2 ATP or 2 GTP, you can call either the 2 ATP or 2 GTP that will be produced. Along with that 2 FADH2 plus 6 NADH2. So if you take this overall NADH2 and FADH2, which all this will be goes for the electron transport chain for the further cleavages, we will get 6 plus 2 is 8, 8 plus 2 is 10. So overall 10 NADH2. So 1 NADH2 is equal to 3 ATP. So in that 30 ATP will be produced from 10 NADH2. I am talking about the overall glycolysis, Krebs cycle and oxidative phosphorylation. Next is FADH2. So in Krebs cycle 2 FADH2 will be produced, so that 1 FADH2 is equal to 2 ATP, so 4 ATP. Okay. So 30 plus 4, 34. Next is in Krebs cycle 2 ATP is produced and glycolysis 2 ATP is produced. So overall 4 ATP is produced. So we get 4. So 34 plus 4 is 38. So overall in the aerobic cellular respiration, 30 ATP molecules will be produced. On that 2 ATP will be utilized. So at the end there will be 36 ATP will be there. If you check it out, that it will be exactly just like that. So this 2 ATP will be consumed from the cytoplasm when it is passing, when the NADH is passing from cytoplasm to mitochondria, those 2 ATP will be utilized. So overall from the aerobic cellular respiration, 36 ATP molecules are produced from one single chain. Okay, so this is about the cellular aerobic respiration. Next we move on to triple P pathway, that is pentose phosphate pathway. This pentose phosphate pathway is, it's a substitute for the glycolysis cycle. So we can also call it as shunt of glycolysis. You can also call this triple P pathway as shunt of glycolysis. So what exactly happening in the pentose phosphate pathway is, first here the component is glucose 6-phosphate. This glucose 6-phosphate will be converted into 6-phosphogluconolactone. Okay, this 6-phosphogluconolactone will release a proton, so it will convert it into 6-phosphogluconate. So once this 6-phosphogluconate is produced, decarboxylation will be happening. So one carbon compound, carbon dioxide will be removed. So that will lead to the production of ribulose 5-phosphate. So in this ribulose 5-phosphate, it will further isomerase and epimerase. Isomerase is same, epimerase is different one. So ribulose 5-phosphate will produce ribose 5-phosphate, and ribulose 5-phosphate epimerase, that is opposite to the isomerase, is xylulose 5-phosphate. So once this ribose 5-phosphate from xylulose 5-phosphate react, it will produce glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate plus pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate. So when this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate plus pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate reacts combined together in the presence of enzyme transaldolase. Transaldolase means transaction, transplantation. Okay, so transplantation. So when it is transplanted, it will produce fructose 6-phosphate plus erythrose 4-phosphate. Okay, this erythrose 4-phosphate react with the xylose 5-phosphate to produce glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate plus fructose 6-phosphate. So either the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, it will be there in the glycolysis. Fructose 6-phosphate can also be entered into glycolysis, and the product which is produced here, fructose 6-phosphate, can also be entered into the glycolysis, or it can come out from the glycolysis. And this, all this green color what I have written is the enzymes which is responsible for the transformation of the next component. Okay, now if you take this from glucose 6-phosphate to 6-phosphoglucolactone, it requires from NADP, it will be converted into NADPH, because one proton will be added with this NADP. So that will be that. And same way in 6-phosphogluconate, it is again a transformation, complete transformation. Again what happened here is the proton will be added with NADP, and which leads to the NADPH. Okay, so overall 2 NADP will be produced. At the end of the pentose phosphate pathway, totally 5 carbon sugars will be takes place, because pentose is 5 carbon sugars. In that 5 carbon sugars, what happened is overall it will produce 12 NADPH. Okay, apart from that 6 carbon dioxide. So 12 NADPH is equal to, each is 3 ATP, so 36 ATP molecules will be produced. So net gain of ATP from the pentose phosphate is 36 ATP molecules. So with this, we have completed the pentose phosphate pathway. Again, I'll repeat, glucose 6-phosphate will be converted into 6-phosphogluconolactone, because one proton will be added with this NADPH with the help of enzyme 6G6-phosphate dehydrogenase. Okay, so what happened is, after the 6-phosphogluconolactone will be converted into 6-phosphogluconate, okay, with the help of enzyme gluconolactonase. Okay, in that gluconolactonase step, that is from 6-phosphogluconolactone to 6-phosphogluconate, there will be a removal of H plus from the water molecule. So that leads to the production of gluconate. Okay, next this 6-phosphogluconate will be converted into ribulose 5-phosphate with the help of enzyme 6-phosphogluconate dehydrogenase. In that step, one decarboxylation will be happening. Another one is removed proton, that is removed H, will be joined with the NADPH to form the NADPH2. Okay, so this compound ribulose 5-phosphate, either it will go to isomerase or epimerase. If it goes to isomerase, it will produce ribose 5-phosphate, and if it goes to epimerase, it will produce xylulose 5-phosphate. Okay, now this ribose 5-phosphate and xylulose 5-phosphate combined together with the help of enzyme transketolase produce the two main components. One is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate plus pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate. This glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and trans-pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate again will take the help of transaldolase converted into fructose 6-phosphate plus erythrose 4-phosphate. Okay, this fructose 6-phosphate can either enter into glycolysis and starts its reaction. That is one way. And this produced erythrose 4-phosphate react with this xylulose 5-phosphate to produce glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate plus fructose 6-phosphate. If the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate produce, it will enter into the glycolysis, and fructose 6-phosphate either it will enter or it comes out from the glycolysis. So overall, if you take this pentose phosphate pathway, 5 carbon of sugars will be produced because it is a pentose sugar. Okay, so in that pentose phosphate pathway, totally 12 NADPH2 will be produced. Apart from that, 6 molecule of carbon dioxide will be produced. So 1 NADPH2 is equal to 3. So totally here 12 is produced. So 12 into 3 is 30 ATP molecules. So net gain of pentose phosphate pathway is 36 ATP molecules. And this pentose phosphate pathway we can also call it as shunt of glycolysis, because this is a replica of it is not exactly the replica of glycolysis, it is a subsidiary of glycolysis. So you can call it as shunt of glycolysis. So with this we have completed the aerobic cellular respiration. Next we move on to anaerobic respiration.